Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Wednesday the 13th of February 2019 and we're discussing the US debt clock and that it has now surpassed $22 trillion. We shall start this video off with a quote from Judd, Gregg and Edward Rendell, co-chairmen of the Campaign to Fix the Debt, a project of the nonpartisan committee for a responsible federal budget. Quote, "The debt eclipsing $22 trillion is another sad reminder of the inexcusable tab our nation's leaders continue to run up and will leave for the next generation." Unquote. Yes, the US debt clock yesterday surpassed the $22 trillion mark and today stands at $22.009 trillion. Now, why is this important? Is 22 trillion some magical figure worthy of mention? No. Does it have some astrological significance? Again, no. Is it based on some illuminati symbolism? Sorry, not that either. The only reason we're mentioning it is the fact that only 11 months has passed since it was 21 trillion. Let's repeat that. Only 11 months have passed since it was $21 trillion. Put another way, since President Trump entered office, the national debt has risen by $2 trillion. So it could be argued that under his presidency, we can expect a rise at or around $1 trillion a year, which means that come the election in 2020, the debt clock will be $24 trillion. Now, we're not entirely blaming Donald Trump for the debt clock, but his tax cuts certainly added to the speed of the rise for sure. But so too will a few other issues. Very soon, he shall be embarking on a major infrastructure spend, which admittedly he will have to get past Congress. And some argue this will cost around $1 trillion. The Fed and other experts warn that economic growth this year will be approximately 1% lower than last year. And if this comes about, tax revenues will be lower. And the debt clock will rise further. We are entering an election period. And we all know that politicians like to buy votes, and we suggest that President Trump will be no different. So let's expect a few other nice presents being given away to the electorate. And what about that recession? Yes, the recession the pumpers are claiming is inevitable. If they are right, and the Fed is wrong, and that instead of having 2.5% growth, we have zero growth, then just imagine the state of the government finances and the further rise in the debt clock. In a tweet yesterday, Jeffrey Gundlach, an American investor, business person and founder of Double Line Capital LP, an investment firm, said, quote, "Currently $122 trillion US unfunded liabilities per debt clock. That's 564% of fiscal 18 GDP. To fund would require 10% of GDP for 56 plus years." Now, that puts it into perspective. The Fed is expecting around 2.5% GDP for this year, and that is seen by some to be optimistic. And this guy is quoting that we would need 10% of fiscal GDP to fund the debt. It simply isn't going to happen. For definition purposes, and to make this point clearer, a fiscal deficit occurs when a government's total expenditure exceeds the revenue that it generates, excluding monies from borrowings. Deficit admittedly differs from debt, which is an accumulation of yearly deficits. Now, before the pro-Trump people jump up and down and say it would be worse under the Democrats, you may indeed be right. After all, under Obama, the debt clock rose by $9.3 trillion. a little over 1 trillion a year. Though we will add that he had an economic crisis to deal with and recover from, left over by the Bush administration. But we fully agree that the Democrats' proposed Green New Deal and universal healthcare provisions, if adopted and they are elected, will only increase this debt clock further and even faster. So what can be done, and should we be worried? Well, the government could cut back on government expenditure. But frankly, perhaps that should have been done when the economy was in even more robust health than it is now. With potential recession looming, is the answer to cut back spending and perhaps cause unemployment? But again, with an election around the corner, that isn't going to happen anyway. Should we be worried? Well, that depends entirely on which branch of economics you support. If you are of the Austrian school, you will have already gone bald by now because of all of the hair-pulling in frustration and despair. If you're of the modern monetary theory school, you'll be laughing and shouting, "Bring it on, spend more now, and deliver us utopia." Okay, slight exaggeration, but you get our point. In the Inner Sanctum, we shall deal with these issues in a series of videos on modern monetary theory, but for now, let us know what you think. What level of debt clock is beyond the pale? 25 trillion? 30 trillion? 35 trillion? Let us know your thoughts. But more importantly, let us know why you think that. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.